Hi, my name is Shemroy Parkinson, and I am here with the founder of Soul Cafe Coffee Roasters, Maria Browne. Maria, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, Shem?
I am great. I'm great. Let's sort of dive right in if we can. For listeners just discovering Soul Cafe Coffee, what's the story behind your sort of unique fusion of coffee and culture?
So, my thought process really resides on my husband's dream. He's had this vision once he discovered coffee to make it accessible for people to find out what good quality coffee is all about. The sort of the market now is a little bit different than when he discovered coffee. It wasn't as prevalent, but now you have many artisanal cafes. The coffee knowledge is next level with the access to social media and all the information that gets pumped out every day. So I think people have taken an interest and realized that coffee is actually very complex, and there's a lot you can do with coffee, and there's a lot that is put into a good coffee from everywhere, from the bean, how it's roasted, how it's brewed. All of that is important. So I guess we want to also tie that into a cultural component. So we called it Soul Cafe because my husband loves music. So coffee, music, and food kind of are his top things. He kind of took me along for the ride. And we've talked about this before, you and I, but during COVID, that ritual in the mornings, that was everything for me. It was such a nice moment in the day with everything going on and all the negativity, to sit there, get a moment to collect yourself, experience that coffee. So I really jumped ship, and I kind of left tea behind, joined the coffee world, and then it's been like full swing ever since. And I've really enjoyed the journey and the knowledge that I've gained in the last couple of years to be here today and to start this coffee roaster. So I'm very excited to incorporate culture and see kind of where this leads us.
I want to stick with the name for a second. The name Soul Cafe. It sort of evokes something more than just coffee. What inspired that choice?
I think it's this tie into music, right? We never have coffee in silence. Let's start. We have music playing, and that feel good moment. It's always accompanied by a good soundtrack. Soul Cafe, it's not just the soul that you feel. Like, you can infuse soul in a bean. It sounds a little cheesy, but definitely, like, you put, it's like a chef, right? Like, if they're making something and they're putting that heart and soul into what they're making, it's the same thing. We're putting that heart and soul into our roast, into the bean, but then we equally want to put that soul into the vibe, into how you're experiencing that coffee. What are you listening to? What are you feeling? What are your emotions? I think that's all part of it, right?
I love that. Let's talk about your approach to roasting specifically, if we can. How would you describe Soul Cafe's coffee philosophy?
So I like to describe it as both scientific. And what I mean by that is we use technology to really document and get precision on our roasts. We use the latest roaster and the latest technology as much as possible to create that sort of craftsmanship and consistency. And then we also tie in these traditional methods where we get in there, right? We get our hands dirty, we smell, we touch, we taste, we cup, we do all of these we employ all of these methodologies to have like an edge in our roast where you can't take away that human factor. And we don't want that.
It feels very personal.
Yeah, we want to, exactly, small batch. We want to make it personal. We want to, okay all the roasts that come out. We're not just there to provide all of the different farmers and all of the different sources and overwhelm people with option. We want to find the best option, curate like a recipe or a list or a blend, and really only put our best foot forward.
Now, look, there are a lot of specialty coffee roasters out there, right? Now, what made you want to push sort of beyond just being another one of those roasting companies?
I think we want to deal with people that have sort of the same values and the same idea as us. Like, we're not looking to be the biggest fish in the pond here. We want to be, I guess, the prettiest fish in the pond. We want to be that person or that roaster that teaches people how to extract the best coffee. We don't just want to sell you the bean and then, okay, we're done here
and be gone. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be there. We want to improve your game, whether it's a cafe that's improving their coffee game. We want to improve the home barista's coffee game. Whoever is looking to improve or elevate that experience, we want to be there for them. So what sort of sets us apart, or what we're intending to do, because we're quite new, obviously, is to be a place where people can come and elevate whatever they're trying to do. And through like community and collaboration, we have quite an extensive sort of community, local community that we're building of other coffee professionals that can assist anyone that is wishing to get more information, wishing to improve whatever they're trying to do. We have those resources and those connections that we're making, and we're ready to sort of pass along to that end person or cafe so that they can benefit from any knowledge that they're seeking. And yeah, like just making it better for everyone. Transparent.
You're doing something really interesting by helping other cafe owners develop their own spaces, which is not something that you typically sort of see. What inspired this sort of collaborative approach rather than just sort of focusing on your own expansion?
I guess if you think about the big picture, the success of a cafe will mean the success of our roaster, right? If we can equally be successful and we can rise up and share those values that we have, if we find people that resonate with the same value system, I really do think that you're basically propping each other up. So it's important. That collaboration is very important overall, right? Like you're solving, like I would like to solve problems for people. I think, if you're not solving someone's problem, then what are you really doing, right? So whether that is to help them open a cafe through the interior design aspect. So I am myself an interior designer, and I get these visions, and I want to really get to the essence of the client and express that essence in their space. And then on top of it, how are we going to achieve that cultural experience? Maybe they want to have like a Turkish spin on the coffee or whatever it is, right? And really propelling that forward through the design of the space, the packaging. And then where we come in, obviously we can give the beans, but it's not just here are my beans, sell my beans. Like I would love to invite these people over. We have a session, they get to taste different flavors, and then perhaps we come up with a blend for their cafe. So it's exciting, right? That makes it a lot more exciting than just selling beans or, and then stopping it there.
Totally. I'm getting a real sense of sort of community in everything that you're sort of saying, as opposed to being so impersonal. It feels very much like almost like a family, right? Which I really like.
And authenticity too. I think like getting the essence of different people, bringing that authenticity to the brand, I think that's really important as well.
Let's talk about your sourcing practices if we can. How do you approach building sustainable relationships with coffee producers?
So getting, I guess, upfront and personal with the farmers, that is something we want to expand on in the coming year. Taking trips, meeting the farmers, understanding how they grow their crop, how they treat their soil, all of that, right? That's that personal touch that we were talking about. And then from that, you can obviously filter out people who perhaps are not growing sustainably, or maybe, using too much water, or what are they adding to the soils, stuff like that. So we consider sort of the big picture, and we try our best to really think in a way and operate in a way or create processes that can be sustainable or leave a world that I want my kids to live in the future. So coffee can be quite a demanding crop to grow, and that's important.
Wow. How do you see the role of coffee shops sort of evolving into building more sustainable communities? Do you see that being the case?
I do. I saw a really interesting coffee shop. I don't recall exactly where, but they made furniture from a 3D printer from the leftover grinds from the coffee shop. It was like a really cool sculptural, aesthetically pleasing space. So that's like one way. That's pretty incredible, I think. that touches upon like the design and the experience of more than just drinking the cup of coffee. That was sustainable. Obviously, packaging is a big one. Shipping, there, you can really take this quite far, but like, how do the beans get around the world? There's obviously opportunities there as we have electrical cars coming out. Maybe there are paths that we can pave now to allow us to set up for future improvement on these processes. So our shipment, our deliveries, our packaging, how we farm, how we store, all of these things matter. One example people don't really realize with the roasters, they release certain emissions as well as they're roasting. Most roasters require what's called an afterburner to take away that smoke. But like we use the lowering and we don't require an afterburner because it doesn't produce that secondary smoke, or it kind of keeps it and houses it within. So things like that, technology is helping create better processes all the way from farming to roasting to the delivery of the coffee. So that's how we sort of, we try to think about that in our sort of day-to-day operations.
Let's stick with sustainability. How do you balance quality requirements with sustainability goals, which can often be a bit of a challenge?
So quality is, I think we can definitely achieve both. Sustainability is more, I would say, how we get the coffee roasted. It's about the process, but the quality takes on a different role. So, for example, quality might be sorting out the green beans and making sure that we take defective greens out of a batch. That could be done. Actually, some places in the world, they do it by hand. Some places have sorting machines that can kind of weigh the beans. And if there's like one bean might be lighter or off kilter, right? Like the numbers don't match up, the system knows to remove the defective bean from the batch. So these are things that are part of quality. And then on the sort of post-roast quality assessment, we have methodologies of testing the beans as well, like the moisture levels or making sure that there's like no fungus that grows in the beans. So these are like more of the quality touch points. I don't know necessarily if they coincide with sustainability per se. Like none of the quality measures affect sort of the sustainability portion, I would say. Like it's pretty separate.
Pretty separate. Okay. You've talked a lot about creating experiences for people. What does crafting experiences mean to you in the context of coffee roasting?
I think of more than just the roast. So the experience to me is the end point. Who's drinking it? Where are they? And what are they experiencing? So I envision cafes and I envision a home filled with like that ritual, that experience that I was talking about
during COVID
that I really enjoyed. So I guess I just want to provide a good experience. I think one of the ways we're going to be able to do that and what we're trying to create now and what we're leading up to is to create a platform for musicians and DJs to ultimately join perhaps a channel. We might have live events, but to display their craft. And my hope and dream is that we have a sort of a streaming channel where people can display their art and other cafes and homeowners can tap in and listen live while they're experiencing their coffee. I think that'll be a pretty big movement. And it would be just lovely to have like a sort of that shared experience of sharing the art, receiving the art and feeling and experiencing that emotion.
Let's stick with music. How do you see music and coffee culture sort of intersecting in a cafe space? Like, I know you mentioned that off the top, people don't sit and drink coffee in silence for the most part, right? But how do you see those two things sort of intersecting?
Well, I kind of going back to this channel that I was telling you about, I really hope that we can provide a platform for people to showcase, maybe up and coming artists. Obviously, like artists that are known are probably not going to be our target audience necessarily, but, up and coming artists, anyone that has the ability to mix a good tune and create a good vibe. Like we want those people on our channel. We want those people to showcase and be involved in some of these events that we're going to be doing, whether they're live events, whether they're events online. I think by creating the events, we can get like-minded people or people who appreciate the music and appreciate coffee and create that experience that is memorable, and hopefully get more people to join in. And I think the goal too is, as we grow and as we scale, we hope to give back into the community and give back to these artists and people who are showing interest in music. So my goal is perhaps to create a scholarship or fund classes for those that perhaps can't afford, but have a musical talent that they wish to explore. So that's our hope and dream, is to give back locally, or into whatever community we see fit at the time, I guess.
Just speaking a little bit more on the local artists, how would you create a music program that sort of helps to support those local artists while maintaining the cafe's ambiance?
So that's something we're going to have to explore, right? We're going to have to see, I think, through the proceeds that are created from such events. So having an artist come in, showcase their talent, we can attract top talent. Hopefully, if someone is like paying that artist to be part of these events, can help the artist. And then in tandem, the proceeds from the events that we generate, we can also use to create the scholarships or the payment.
To give back in that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
That's how I was envisioning it. So it's almost like a fundraiser, so to speak, but it will be, the spotlight will be to help the musicians, for sure.
A couple more questions for you. What are sort of the key elements that you consider absolutely essential when designing a cafe space? You mentioned your experience with being an interior designer. So what are the sort of essential what's essential to designing a cafe that serves both as a coffee house and also, on a bigger scale, a cultural venue?
Okay. So I like to kind of peg my design process on the 5 senses. So everything that I do is involved in experiential design. And then I consider the 5 senses. And then I have a 6th sense that I've sort of, it's not a real sense, but it's as important in every sense of the word. So we obviously think of taste. We have the coffee, right? We think of touch. We think of the textiles, all the materials that are used in a cafe. Super important. What are you listening to? Obviously, that's that musical component that we're touching upon. That's how we're going to factor that into a space or a cafe. So we have taste, touch. We touch all of. So sorry, I'm losing my words. Touch, sight, hearing. So sight is what you see. Obviously, that's design. What am I missing?
Smell.
Smell. Oh, wow. That goes without saying.
Of course.
Smells amazing. Even if you don't like drinking coffee, people like smelling coffee. So
totally.
That's a very easy one to satisfy, for sure. But smell. And the 6th sense that I was talking about is this idea of essence. And that's where that client comes into play. It's who are you? Who are you as the client? What are you about? We consider the culture. We consider, and it doesn't have to be ethnicity necessarily. It could be a different kind of culture. Is it urban culture? Is it street culture? Whatever that culture is, we can define it once we get to know the client. And then that culture and that essence gets unveiled and ultimately infused in the design. So that's important. So, and that design could be both of the space. It could also be the design of the packaging. It could be the design of the blends that are featured in that cafe, or the design of the process of, like the brewing process could be different.
Yeah.
There's different ways to make coffee, right?
Of course. Yeah. Everybody has their own thing. Can you describe your vision for like an ideal cafe setup that sort of balances aesthetics with functionality?
So, that I'm going to take that back to the client. I can't answer that.
Fair.
I can't answer that now because it really does depend on who I'm speaking to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the process, right? Like if I'm designing a space for somebody, it's so important to get to know them. And we go through a very pretty deep exploratory journey to understand who that person is, what they hope to achieve. So that's not really a one-stop shop or a one answer for everybody.
Yeah. Do you have like a sort of perfect coffee moment that you could sort of paint a picture for listeners? Like your own personal one?
For me, yeah. Yeah. It's like 5 a.m. I mean, I know it's not an ideal time, so that part of it's not really perfect, but Think of like the morning when you're downstairs and the kids are still sleeping, because I have 4 of them. So, I hate that they're not involved, but let's be realistic. Like that
Sure.
moment in the morning, it's like the quiet time. When it snows and
Oh,
it's quiet. I know it sounds weird, but it's like a blanket has
it's
fallen over
peaceful.
a city. It's
Totally.
peaceful. It's like that, right? So
Yep.
in the morning, it's just like quiet, it's serene. You play a nice tune, you have your coffee.
It sounds just
Is there,
calm.
is there anything better? It
No,
is
no.
calm.
Yeah, it really feels calming. Maria, where do you see soul?
Coffee is good, especially when the coffee is good.
And if the coffee is good, of course, that makes it even better, right? Absolutely. Where do you see Soul Cafe in 5 years from now?
Oh, I mean, my hope is that it's gone viral, but in the most authentic and like, I don't want to go big necessarily, but what I mean by that is like, I hope it goes viral in a sense that people that truly want to experience better coffee have found us, have engaged us, and that we've been able to help them, just perfect the art of coffee making and just have a better experience, whatever that means for them.
Yeah, and I can really appreciate that because it's not just about people coming in and having the coffee and being out the door. You want people to come and enjoy the
Yes.
full. It's almost like going to a spa, right? Where
Right.
an all day spa. Yeah, you can go and just get your nails done, but if you can go get your nails done, get a head massage, get steam. I haven't gone to a full spa day in a long while, but you want the full people to have the enjoy the full experience of being at Soul Cafe, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. And we want
Uh,
to send that into cafes and also at the home, right? For people who wishing to elevate that experience.
yeah. For listeners who want to experience, because it really is an experience, Soul Cafe Coffee, what's the best way to contact you?
Oh, wow. We have many channels. We're working on the website. It should be out any moment. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about our website, and it'll be definitely a platform where we can engage and get closer. Obviously, Google My Business. We have an online presence there. So yeah, everything's online. Soul Cafe Coffee Roasters. We're also going to be really launching and pushing some content forward for the listeners, to improve the craft, to get feedback, knowledge, courses. There'll definitely be ways. I mean, there won't be any shortage of ways of getting in touch. But we are located in Brooklyn. We're near Industry City. What the address? I mean, you can't go there now because it is a warehouse. It's operational in a business sense. So, but we will be launching some cafes, hopefully 2025 and on. So stay tuned for that. We're very excited. We're going to be doing some pop-ups and, just trying to interact with everyone and get that relationship building going. Yeah.
There you go. Beautiful founder of Soul Cafe Coffee Roasters, Maria Browne. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.